Isn't it kind of crazy the things you come across when you're about to do a video? So I've recently just finished with work today, and as I was wrapping things up and getting ready to mop up the floor, I decided to scroll through my feed on YouTube, and that's when I came to the sudden realization that Peter Cullen, the voice of Optimus Prime, had unfortunately passed away. Crazy to think that last night, which was the day he apparently had passed, I was celebrating some friends of mine's birthday. Just chilling, playing Mario Party. And all of a sudden this was happening and I wasn't even aware of it. Funny how that is, isn't it? But yeah, Peter Cullen, while maybe not the biggest inspiration, was still a huge inspiration for me when it comes to just hearing so many iconic voice actors. I was around probably the age of 7 or 8 when I first heard his voice. And I remember the moment clear as day, or as clear as I can. I was at my uncle and aunt's house, and I was just minding my own business when all of a sudden I just went upstairs and saw what everyone else was sitting around and watching on the television. It was Michael Bay's first ever Transformers movie. So I decided to stick around and see what was going on. And the moment Optimus Prime finally showed up and spoke, it definitely just took me by surprise at how he sounded. I don't think I had ever heard a voice sound like that for a character so big, so larger than life. It immediately became iconic for me, which is probably the same for so many other people. Peter Cullen had made Optimus just something true unique, all thanks to the words passed down from his brother. Strong enough to be gentle. And if you asked me to pick a voice that personified that phrase, well, then it's gotta be Peter Cullen. There have been a few other actors that have passed away, such as, well, maybe not actors is a good way to put it, but people with huge influence within the world that have impacted the world in some form or another. From Dolly Parton to Tim Curry. And the world has definitely showcased their pain and mourning, especially for people like Dolly. But for me, Peter Cullen's the one that hits the hardest for me. Just due to the sheer legacy and the impact he's had in my life. I mean, not only is he the voice of Optimus Prime, but before I got to know him in that, I got to know his voice as Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh. While Eeyore was never really my favorite character, it is still a notable role that he did that he also laid pretty much the foundation for, and you can't really have an Eeyore voice without using Peter Cullen as that baseline. And the same is definitely true for Optimus. He made that character as iconic as like what Charles Martinet did for Mickey Mouse, and Walt Disney himself did for Mickey. Peter's voice alone was able to just motivate you and want to push you to try and be your best self. Every time Optimus would finish anything with a big speech, you could really feel just the impact of the words. Even in the more weaker Transformers films, there's always a great speech that Peter Cullen gives as Prime that just pushes you to want to be better. to strive to be similar to Optimus. He was able to make the character so relatable despite how larger than life he is. I guess that just goes to support the phrase strong enough to be gentle. Because in that way, you also make a character approachable and could realistically get to know. And while I've never had a chance to meet the man himself, what I have heard has been nothing but positivity with how he is in the fandom and when he comes to meet other fans. And overall just seemed like a nice guy. A lot has happened recently these past few days. So much death announced within this world of both people of known fame, as well as just a lot of people who we may never even know in the first place, but are aware. And yet at the end of the day, even when I heard this news, the world continued to spin on. And right before we had closed, people continued to just keep coming into the establishment and wanted something to eat. Seemingly unaware of what news had struck. But I guess that's just life, isn't it? You may get off on the huge bus ride of life, but the bus has to keep going. The world continues to spin. The roads continue to go on with seemingly no end. As we continue to just walk on. But to quote a certain blue hedgehog, that's just why we gotta live life to the fullest in the time that we have. And while I may not know Peter Cullen personally, in terms of what he's done in the world of acting, he definitely made the most of his time. He has built for himself a legacy that will stand the test of time when it comes to being one of the most iconic voices in pop culture. Maybe not one of the most in the grand scheme of things. I'm sure more people will more instantly recognize the voice of Bugs Bunny or Mickey Mouse or Mario before they figure out Optimus Prime. But there will definitely be a good handful, especially here in the States. Because that voice, man, it was something else. And every time I heard Optimus in more movies and other TV shows, I just continue to gravitate to the character more and more. Playing Fall of Cybertron, on seeing him go up against Megatron all the time. Always doing the best to make sure that whatever he does doesn't compromise who he is as a person. He's just so cool and so inspiring. And I'd say that's a pretty good legacy to leave behind, if you ask me. It's a bit ironic to think about it, though. One of the last things, at the very least, that we ever heard Peter Cullen voice for is just so antithetical to Optimus Prime's character when he was voicing Thetis, asking Alan to condemn every Viltrumite to death. Weird how that is sometimes, isn't it? But even so, while it was fun to hear him as Thetis, he'll forever be Optimus Prime. And I wish to offer my condolences to Peter Cullen's family as well as any friends that are close that know him best. And while I'm sure many other people, even those more closer to you, may probably say, I just also want to be another voice within the ether to let you know that he has made a huge impact in so many lives. And I hope you're all proud of the life that he lived. And a big thank you to Peter Cullen. And I hope you rest in peace. And hopefully, if things go as planned, some of us may be able to see you again. Till all are one. Thank you, Peter Cullen, for everything that you've done. Arrivederci.